Welcome to the Bird's Eye View. We are here, and you can see that Mr. Krow is with us here, even though he doesn't really have his green screen, but that's okay. We don't need it.
Adapt.
We'll just put him behind the screen. There we go.
There you go.
Don't hit your head on the screen there. So, all right. So, there's a lot going on in the world, and like ever so present in your face is all this pronouns and genders and all this other stuff. And so we found a couple headlines, but let's first take a look, because part of the problem with this conversation is the fact that people use a word and then they either use it incorrectly or they twist it in a way to fit their argument. And so this whole gender ideology, gender, sex, identity, these all get thrown around. Nobody defines it before they talk about it. So we are, because let's not get lost in what we're doing here. It says, well, it's not very, let's see if we can get this to where, there we go, bigger. Well, if I make it bigger, then you really can't see it. Oh, shit.
Okay.
All right. So, from Oxford, the distinction between sex and gender is attributed to the anthropologist Margaret Mead. Sex is a biological category where gender is the cultural shaped expression of sexual differences, the masculine way in which men should behave and the feminine way in which women should behave. It's emphasized by something that the system of woman is the other, the kind person whose characteristics are described by contrast with the male norm. It is a central aim of much feminists, though, to uncover concealed asymmetries of power and differences of gender, and to work for a society in which the polarization of gender is abolished. Okay. So here's the thing, is we get caught up in these gender identities thing. And the problem with that is you have one side talking about sex and biology, and the other talking about a gender identity, basically a feeling or an idea. One is a biological based on science, and the other one is a fictitious thing, a label. It's basically a label, and so it's a feeling, right? It's I'm labeling myself with this feeling, or because of my feelings, I'm taking this label. Okay, so now that we have that clearly defined here, we can take a look at some of these headlines. As gender is not binary. The science is in, and there's no legitimate debate. Okay, see, right off the bat, this statement is completely wrong, right?
Yeah.
She started off just fine. Gender is not binary. Okay, if you're talking gender identity, it's just a label, fine. It's not binary, right? Then because of that definition, you can have whatever you want. But the moment she says the science is in and there's no legitimate debate, she's automatically wrong, because biology says, the science says, the actual real science, not this made up ideology thing, right? Is you either have an X chromosome or a Y.
Y.
And that's the end of that science story. You are either an X or a Y. There is no anything else. Not any malformation, not any difference, not any trait, nothing else. You either are an X or you're a Y. And that's the biological science definition of sex because
I was just gonna say,
gender is a label. And I'm gonna have to scoot Mr. Crow over because I can't
oh,
have
sorry.
his head.
I'll sit this way. I'm
So
looking at the camera, not you. So
I'll just move you over a little bit. Okay. So there you go. Right. So this article is automatically wrong. Um, and it says, let me start with the most important point. It's not a crime to misgender someone in Michigan, because that was some falsehood that they were doing, right? Where I think it actually is a crime is in Canada.
yeah, you're just
Right?
saying that
Is
too. Yeah,
I think in Canada is actually is a crime to misgender somebody. Now here's the
you
thing.
can be sued. Yeah.
The reason it's not a crime in the United States is because there's a thing called freedom of speech. And I can call you every name in the book, some of them 4 letters, and that's not against the
I was just
law.
gonna say,
right?
So
Because those words are only meant to use to hurt somebody in any way. That's all they are. And so because of freedom of speech is I can call you whatever I want to call you to hurt you or whatever. And now but here's where you run into the thing is some people, including the rest of the world, right? Their religious beliefs don't fall in with this American thing of these gender pronouns and profiles. Go ahead and take your pronouns and whatever and go to Afghanistan and see what happens to you. You won't like it. And you'll probably get stoned in the street, and that would be if you're lucky. If you go to these tribes that don't have a lot of contact or don't have TV, don't have internet, they will laugh in your face because you are either a man and a woman.
Well, and going to that extreme too with tribes, pretty sure some of them have rituals that they do based on your
Sex,
biological X or Y.
right? Well, and that's the thing, right? Is we have to use the correct terminology when we're arguing or when we're debating this issue. When we talk about sports, right? Okay.
Oh yeah.
When we talk about sports, I don't care what you identify as, a cat, a dog, man, woman, space cadet. I don't care. But the simple fact is, biologically, with your X or Y, you are different.
Mm-hmm.
And an X should not be playing with a Y because of their physical attributes and differences. And that's a scientific fact. And if you tell me different, you are flat wrong and lying to yourself. Now, you can say, hey, they identify as a man, and that's fine.
Yeah,
but okay, I actually misspoke. If you are a Y, you should only play sports with other Ys.
Okay.
If you are a Y and you want to play with the X's, by all means, go play, have fun, good luck to you.
Mm-hmm.
But we have spent hundreds of years protecting the Ys and putting laws in place to protect biological Ys from the X's because there are a lot of asshole X's out there, including X's, XX's, whatever. Like we broke up and now you're my ex, but you're also next. Right? Anyway, all right. Yeah. If you didn't get in there, all right. Yeah. So we made separate bathrooms for Ys, right? Because if you put some jackass X in there, who knows what he's going to do to hurt that Y. We made all kinds of laws and all kinds of protections. We protected their place of work. We protected their pay gap. We protected their safe spaces. And now with these people that are claiming Y, they're taking those protections and throwing them out the window based on a label, because that's not biological, right? So this is where you guys get, this is where the caught up gets is, well, yeah, but look at how they look. They look like a woman, and that's fine. You can look all like a woman that you want, but you are not a Y. Yeah. You will never biologically be a Y. You will never have birth like a Y. You will never breastfeed like a Y. all the surgeries in the world, you will never be
Never change.
exactly like a Y. I'm sorry. That's just the simple facts of life. Simple reality. If you can't see that, I apologize that you are delusional. Now, you can want that, and that's okay. I get the want. I get that you have done everything you can to get as close as a Y as possible. But where I get lost is the fact that if you want to be a Y so bad, why wouldn't you uphold their protections and keep them safe instead of infringing on that safety?
It was something I wanted to bring up. Yeah, it's just why wouldn't you still have the respect and the desire of what
Right.
has been fought for so long and established? Let's put it that way. It's just been established. It's taken decades, years, and lots of people lives even, sacrificed for that kind of stuff.
Right. And like we said, is if you whatever label you want, have at it. Nobody cares. The only problem is when you try to push your ideas and your stuff onto somebody else. This has become as much of a hot topic as somebody's political views.
Yeah.
You, in the history of the world, has anybody ever changed somebody's political view by arguing with them? Because I don't think that's probably ever happened. Now,
I don't think there's no.
they may
You
have
never
come
walk into
to
those
a reality situation where they came to a conclusion, hey, I'm actually part of this political group. But you never argued somebody into changing their mind.
I've never in my life I've never been in an argument that has changed a person's political view, or even a view on science of some sort, whether it be universe, earth, flat earth is another big one that gets talked about now, the flat earth, or genders. It's just they usually just end.
Right. So, and that's the thing
Nobody's gonna budge.
well, that's the thing, because you hold your beliefs as you are, and that's fine. But the thing is just like with the political argument, if you want to label yourself a certain way, then go ahead and live your life in your own way about it. But don't, the moment you go out and try to change somebody else's mind or throw it in somebody else's face or imprint on somebody else's kid your ideologies above those other people's ideology, that's where you cause your own problem, right?
You've overstepped.
Now, here's the other aspect. In America, these people are less than 3%.
You would think that they were everything.
You would think that they were 40 or 50%, which as much as this is in your face, right?
Oh yeah.
But, and this is part of the problem, is you have this supreme minority that is trying to change the masses' ideology. So it's like, and it's like this. It's like the Green Party trying to change the mind of a Democrat or a Republican. You're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right? You're this third party that doesn't belong in the two-party group. If you're not a Democrat and a Republican, you're irrelevant. That's the way politics is, right? So here's the thing is they are actually upsetting the actual LGBT community. And now some of these LGBT people are getting rid of this plus sign, getting rid of this T, and getting rid of this stuff because they have created a bigger problem for the LGB group.
And they wanted.
Right. Because now you're starting, before people were like, okay, the LGB, okay, they're around, okay, they're here, okay. Nobody cares, right? They're living their life, we're living ours. And it was just okay.
Yeah. It's never been like 5 years ago, I want to say, maybe maybe a little bit. It was never in my face as much as it has been in the past 2 years.
And it's not like they weren't there. They just did their own thing. And that's the whole point.
Okay.
Yeah. You do your own thing, and people are like, okay, do your own thing. We don't care. We're not stopping you from doing your own thing. But now
I liked it because it had neutral grounds. And if they felt comfortable enough to come forward and say things, and because we had that relationship of trust, I was educated, not like, hey, we don't do that, or we do, whatever. Like I prefer this. It was more education. Now it's like stuck in my face of like,
now it's a demand.
Identify this.
Yeah.
Like you need to.
Yeah.
I'm offended.
Right. Yeah, I'm offended. And I don't care what your beliefs are. I don't care what your religious insight is. I don't care how you see the world. You have to see me, and you have to respect me, and you have to treat me this way, and you have to treat me above other people.
And I was like, well, wait
actually,
a minute.
I don't.
What about you respecting mine? It was always take. Never.
See, the LGB respected everybody else if they got respected themselves. And so they went and lived their life and did their own thing. And it really wasn't that. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't have issues with other people, but it was on a much smaller scale than what you're seeing now, because now you're seeing politics get involved in this.
It's a lot more in your face than it used to be.
Now you're getting demand in schools to teach people, or worse, to push ideologies onto people. And that's where people are like there was a tolerance level at one point where we're like, okay, yeah, okay, whatever, that tolerance has been pushed too far and people are done. Yeah. You're seeing it even in the Supreme Court. It went to the Supreme Court, and the lady that refused to make, I believe she was making wedding cakes, and she refused to make a wedding cake, and this whole thing, and the Supreme Court says her religious beliefs trump that. That's a constitutional right, is her religious belief. And so now what you're seeing is the push too far. People's tolerance has run out, and now they're pushing back and fighting back against these things. And this is why I see the LGBT community so upset, is because now they're at risk to getting dragged into this fight they didn't want. They got their right to marriage. They from my viewpoint, being not part of that community, we're happy with that result, and we're like, hey, we're good right now. Let's just let everything calm down and chill out, and then we'll see where we go from here. Now, all of a sudden, you have the push too far, and now those rights are coming into question. Right? That's the big fear. With Roe versus Wade, which is not about abortion, by the way. It's about the states having rights over the federal government's decisions. So the federal government doesn't have that right to regulate. That was overturned. So now the states regulate how they see fit. That's what that law was about. Now,
that's crazy.
Now the other part of this now is about the marriage rights, right, for LGBT community. Have they pushed that too far now that you see the right start attacking some of these laws because they've been pushed too far? That tolerance has run out. And so now there's the fear by the LGBT community that, okay, now they're going to come and take our rights away. Our right to be parents, adoption, and those kind of things, right? That's a real fear. And I agree that those things shouldn't be taken away, because I don't think it's fair that based on, a decision or a label that you use, that's the thing. But at the same time is you can't push somebody's constitutional rights out of the way for your ideologies.
Yeah.
And that's what you've done. They've already infringed on religion. They're trying to infringe on freedom of speech. Even in this article, it says, it's not illegal in Michigan. Well, but it is in Canada. right? So how long?
You're trying to definitely take that kind of away, and the thing I find very hard to understand is they are using the rights of the Constitution to fight for what and demand of what they want. Yet they're not willing to give us our constitutional rights in return to be able to voice our opinion. It's like, whoa, 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 no. I have freedom of speech. You
Yeah.
do not have a freedom.
Now, going back to our conversation, this was the other article. How right wingers avoid dealing with reality. But see, here's the thing: is by misusing words in your argument, you create this thing where you're arguing about something, but you're not even arguing about the same thing, so nobody can agree, and nobody can sit down and have this conversation because the words they use don't coincide with right. And so it says, meanwhile, back in reality, the only real progress made with regards to LGBT, see, there's no plus there, community, this past June was the existential war against it. Right? Toward the end of the already brutal Pride Month, the Supreme Court ruled that businesses may discriminate against LGBT customers. Well, that's not true. See, that's not discrimination. You remember the sign used to be on every single brick and mortar store? It says no shoes, no shirt, no service. I have the right to refuse anyone. Right? Now all of a sudden is this person comes in and you refuse to help them, and they're like, well, I'm part of this special class of people that I don't care what your constitutional or your religious rights are. What? So because of my own constitutional rights that you just get to stomp all over them because of your beliefs? I don't think so. But that has nothing to do with discrimination.
No, it
right?
Doesn't make sense.
So discrimination would be if you came in and it was, hey, your eyes are blue, I can't help you. You're not blonde hair, blue eyes enough, right? You're not Aryan enough. You're not black enough. Those are discrimination also, but also coincide with racism. This whole thing, but based on, hey, I see myself as a teacup. Well, I'm sorry, teacup, I can't help you. Right? It's the way you phrase your point is how you deem your argument to be accurate or not. Right? You can't trample on somebody's constitutional rights because you don't like it. Because you don't think the same way. Like everybody has the constitutional right to carry a gun. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden I can't do certain things because I believe in the Second Amendment or I exercise my right to go shoot guns. Oh, well, you go shoot guns and exercise your Second Amendment right, so you can't come into my store. Yeah. See, that's the same argument, right? It's freedom of speech, right? I don't like what you say, so you can't come into my store. You can't do that. Second Amendment. You shoot guns on your own time, so you can't come into my store. You can't do that. Yeah. That's not discrimination. That's a constitutionally protected right. Your freedom of speech or your religious rights, which is part of the freedom of speech, is you have that right to have your own views. And because of those views, you have the right to service how you choose. Now, you can call us wrong or you can call us bigots, but that doesn't change the fact that if we want to have a discussion based on sex and biology, we can have that discussion. If you want to have that discussion based on your feelings and a label, that's a whole different discussion.
It's a different discussion.
And it depends on what we're talking about, right? For me, in sports, well, I'm going to go to the biological discussion. I'm not going to go to the labels discussion because there's biological difference in sports.
Yeah.
If we want to talk about what you want to wear or what you want to do with yourself or where you want to go and you want to have that as a label, we can have that as a label conversation.
Yeah.
But the basis of all these is we need to get down to the actual what are we talking about and use the correct words when we're talking about this stuff, because that's where a lot of this angst comes in.
I feel like, yeah, this is where people will tend to lead the discussion astray. You know, they argue a different fact. They think they're arguing what you started.
Right.
Like you said, gender versus gender identity. Two different things.
Well, and now because of all the definitions have been rewritten, we can't use gender anymore. It's either sex or gender biology, or it's gender identity.
Isn't there a time where kids weren't taught cursive? Let's write it in cursive and let them decide to figure it out.
Well, and that's a whole nother discussion
That's
about
a whole other topic. Don't go there.
But I go back everybody needs to have this conversation with other people, not kids, but they need to have it and talk about what they're actually talking about.
And I think people need to be open-minded. It's not a fight. You're right. People are going into that discussion with arms up, right? They're in the defensive mode. Try to prove a point. Try to educate. Try to be nice. Try to understand the other person so that you can have an educational decision. You know, it can be walked away with, that you can decide how to move forward.
Having a conversation looking to move forward is very different than having a conversation of somebody trying to change your political belief.
Exactly.
Because
it's not going to happen.
Right, because that conversation is never going anywhere.
You're not going to go. You're going to just have elevated blood pressure, and you're going to be more frustrated and burned a lot more calories in that. In that conversation.
This last couple years alone, I have lost at least 4 or 5 friends because I don't want to have a political conversation with them because they want to change their mind and they have a different belief than I do. So I'm like, hey, I don't want to talk about this with you because we're not going to agree, and that's okay. You have your beliefs, I have mine, but I don't want to talk about it. And they just couldn't let it go. And I'm like, well, I can't, I don't want to have this conversation with you because it's going to go nowhere. We're just going to end a fight. Feelings are going to get hurt. And what's the point?
Yeah, you just need to let things go at times.
Have the conversations that you can have. Define it before you start so you guys aren't confused about what you're talking about, and then go from there.
Exactly. And go from there. Go in there trying to figure out, educational. No, it's going to be an educational discussion, not a mind-changing or life-altering discussion.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was a little long. We've been gone for a little while. Probably have to get back into making these a bunch shorter. But with that, we're out of here. Much love all. We'll catch you next time.
Bye, everyone. Talk to you next time.